Inside Studio 10, it's Jerome Ritchie, Holly Sin, and Catherine Durkin Robinson from Creative Loafing. Nice to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
So we're talking about banning books. There actually is a book here in the 21st century that has been banned from a couple of Hillsborough County schools.
That's right.
What are we talking about here, and why was it banned?
A couple of parents got angry when they saw the list, suggested reading list at Plant High School. It was a college level course, not a college prep course, but a college level course. And this was one of the suggested books for the reading list. And they got angry. They called a couple of people, and typically if a parent gets upset, it just stays at that school. This time, it went to the board. A board member got involved, a district employee got involved, and it went to every school in the district that owned the book.
The book in question is Running with Scissors.
By Augustin Burroughs, and this was actually made into a film not too long ago also. I think it was a couple of years ago now. And one of the teachers that you interviewed that talked in the article said that in 7 years of teaching, this is the first time that a book has ever made it to the board.
Yeah, at Sickles High School. Robin, she's been a teacher for 7 years. She's been on this panel 7 years. And this is the first time she was asked to review a complaint. So she did. They all got together. They read the book. The panel at Sickles High School and all 9 high schools had to read the book, read the complaint, and then figure out what to do about it.
I think it's interesting that one of the initial complaints into Plant High School was an email, I believe, and there was a typo in the email.
Yes.
You know, so...
And now another concern was that it's a college level course. If your daughter is not able to read college level material, perhaps a college level course isn't for her.
I was thinking the same thing about one of the courses that I had in college where I was reading Gertrude Stein and other questionable authors but again, it's a college course. So if you're going to take a college course while you're still in high school, you kind of have to expect that kind of thing to come up.
Exactly.
And maybe we should talk about some of the themes that were, I guess, raising red flags, because they are some of the same themes that students are going to see at the college level. There was homosexuality, sexuality in general. What else were they concerned about?
Well, they were concerned. Augustin Burroughs writes in a very graphic, straightforward manner. So when he explains how he was kicked out of his house, sent to live with a psychiatrist who was a little strange, there are no boundaries. He was raped by an older man. He had lots of experiences that were horrific, and he writes about them very matter-of-factly throughout the book.
Doesn't this also set up the scenario that once something is forbidden and banned, doesn't that make the students want to read it that much more? If it's something they're not supposed to do, doesn't this kind of have the opposite effect?
Absolutely.
Where it drums up interest?
Absolutely. I mean, when I was a teacher and I had a huge poster in my room that encouraged kids to read, if we were studying the Great Depression, I would encourage them to read Grapes of Wrath, and they'd roll their eyes. But if they found out that someone, somewhere, didn't want them to read that book, it made them more apt to pick it up and find out why.
Oh, you have a quote from Judy Bloom here to start the article, and I have to say that the same thing happened when I was in, I believe it was late middle school, where Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret was not available in our library, and we all went out and got it.
Absolutely,
and read it.
me too.
Because it was like on the sly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, made us feel like we were getting away with something.
You're doing something naughty.
Right. So my students would leave the end of the year thinking, wow, these books really weren't that bad. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should question when somebody wants to keep books from us.
Well, I think a bigger issue here is not the fact that, well, one book has been banned one time. Isn't it the precedent that this sets? It's like, well, if they ban this, what's next?
Right. And so that encourages media specialists to maybe pick books in the first place that wouldn't raise red flags. And again, the kids are the ones that miss out. I think it's quite arrogant of a parent in South Tampa to decide what parents all over this county should and should not read, what kids all over this county should and should not read. I think what my children read is my business.
One of the quotes that you have in your article, which is a great article in this week's Creative Loafing, by the way, is one of the parents that voted to ban the book said the reason that she voted that way is because there are no good guys in the book.
Right.
In other words, it's not a happy tra-la-la-la-la story.
And specifically no good adults.
Right. And there was a silence that kind of fell over the room when she said that. And one of the media specialists from Robinson, I believe, said, that's why we want the book. Because this kid got out of his situation on his own. made it back to tell us all about it. And that's why psychology classes, social studies classes can discuss warning signs. how it can,
It opens a dialogue.
yeah, and maybe prevent it from happening again.
And there's cultural significance too, to not even just specifically this book, although there is in this book, but with a lot of the other books that have been banned over the years. You mentioned Huck Finn. I mean, that's another one that maybe it is uncomfortable for us to read now.
Sure.
But culturally, it's very significant, and maybe the kids miss out on the social aspect of what we went through in history.
I think that's true. I'm reading Huck Finn every night right now with my 10-year-old sons, and we have to stop several times and discuss the language, Huck's good heart, what he really means, the laws at the time, which were unjust. And it really works out. I mean, it's a lot of work. I think for some parents, it's a whole lot easier just to ban a book written by a gay man than to actually bring it into the home and talk about what it means.
And you're in pretty good company, too. If you write a book that's been banned, I mean, Lolita, as you said, Catcher in the Rye, it almost makes it an instant classic once it's banned.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
And there are lots of books that fit the description. You know, when I think it was Riverview High School kind of outlined their problems with this book, you could levy those charges against lots of different books.
Well,
Books we should keep.
We are out of time. We hope that you'll go and read the article in full, either in this week's Creative Loafing or at cltampa.com. Catherine, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Come back and see us again.
I will.
We'll be right back.